What is up? It is me. It is I. I am the greatest there is, the greatest there was, and the greatest there ever.
Alright, I'm done.
I am the greatest there is, the greatest there was, and the greatest there ever. I can go all day. Talk about myself all day.
Go ahead, I'm sorry. Yeah, hold on to it so you know I won't do it.
And the greatest there. And the greatest there ever will be. I am greatness personified. Myself. Yes. Stoney Greatness.
That's
and
it.
I am here with the jackass of the hour.
It got hot in here.
The man of the minute.
Go ahead.
I'm here with the king. So show some respect and bend the knee. Because they come from all across the world to see the man who wears the crown that hangs 2 inches from the ground. I can't mess that up. He is your king. He's my king. He is Kyng Kevyn.
Yeah. Oh, thank you.
There you go. They were stunned.
What's going on, everybody? Kyng Kevyn here with Stoney Greatness on the GreatMines Show. Thank you guys for joining us for another live Sunday.
Yes.
So we are here with some good conversation.
Yes.
Some sad news.
Right.
But then we give you a little bit of insight. Mm-hmm. So let's jump in.
Right.
What you got for me?
So,
I'm gonna just put a bunch of these in my hand now. Because that was funny though.
Yeah. And those are addictive. So awesome. You know, I'll take a couple. There we go. Red and blue.
There we go.
So, yeah. Speaking of red and blue. All right.
Great way to start.
I know, right? Great segue. So, we're going to start off with getting all of the election news and opinions out of the way. Now that election day is over and we don't got to deal with any of those crazy election
text messages,
commercials and stuff like that. It's over, thank God.
Oh my gosh, that killed me.
Yeah, and you know, a lot of experts were expecting it to be a bloodbath of sorts, a red wave, a red tsunami, as certain senators from Texas was calling it. And it turned out to be just a little red tinkle.
I think it's funny throughout the media as I watched how many people were calling it this red wave or came up with other puns to what it wasn't.
Right. And basically what happened was that America voted and the Democrats maintained control over the Senate and the majority in the Senate. But the Republicans did win a very, very slim majority in the House of Representatives. So, you know, a Republican is going to be the Speaker of the House and realistically second in line to the presidency behind the Vice President. Right. So it's a good thing, to be honest with you. It does mean that we may have 2 years of nothing getting done.
It will more than likely mean that, because we were just talking, and it's going to segue to the next thing, not too soon though, but we were talking about how people don't understand exactly how politics works.
Right.
When you have the House and you have the Senate, and how one creates the bills to send to the next to pass, to send to the president to sign off. And it's like when you understand that, then you stop blaming individuals,
right?
And you see the bigger picture and things like that. So we will have a situation where you have the Democrats with the Senate, and Republicans are leading in the House. Usually, House sends stuff to the Senate, right? Isn't that how it goes, or is it the other way around?
Both. It can go both ways. Senate can send bills to the House. House can send bills to the Senate. And a lot of times that's how reconciliation works. I mean, there's been plenty of times where, especially with the Democrat-controlled House that we just had, and the Democrat-controlled Senate was a slim majority there. There were times where the House would send a bill to the Senate would not pass a lot of stuff and do what they call reconciliation, where they would, come up with a bill. They would negotiate with House leaders, come up with a bill that they know would pass in both chambers, and then, go through the whole process again, send the bill to the president at that point. So there are ways that, our government can work. It's just a matter of them working together.
Now, something that sort of, even though the Republicans will more than likely have control of the House, the thing that I guess sort of works in the favor of Democrats is we are now looking at a party divided.
Yep.
So this is all new stuff developing. I'm seeing more and more Republican Party leave that the conspiracy side. Let's say that, and they're trying to get back to something more traditional. And I think that that's good, because in the meantime, we do have that Democratic majority in the Senate, and I feel like we still might be able to get some things moved, or they'll just keep fighting and nothing happens.
Right.
For the next 2 years.
I would say that another thing that is hopeful is, because the thing and that's a more federal, approach and a federal look at it. And a lot of things do matter as far as federally, like with the right to reproductive autonomy and the right to privacy, because not a lot of folks understand that reproductive rights directly affect your right to privacy. Okay, hence living the way that you live and everything else like that, and loving who you want to love. All that is related. All right, it is all related, and not a lot of folks understand that in the eyes of the government, all those particular civil liberties that have to be defined as acceptable or unacceptable all matter, when it comes down to they don't see how it's linked to an important issue like abortion, which did pass in I want to say all 5 states that abortion rights was on the ballot for, where states voted to say, hey, we want this in our Constitution. It did pass in a lot of states. So there's a lot, and plus a lot of state offices that are of high influence, like secretaries of state who decide elections, governors who decide elections. Democrats did very well in a lot of governors' races, but also the Republicans that won those governor races aren't election deniers, and that's the thing. A lot of folks know that the whole thing that happened on January 6th was literally an attempt to overthrow the American government. Not a lot of folks understand that. They just see a lot of angry white folks.
Right.
I know a lot of folks in our side, in our community, see a lot of angry white folks. And that's not the case. They legitimately tried to overthrow the government. Okay. Now, when people like us are dying, right? We might bust open a couple stores, take some things that we need that we really didn't feel like we wanted to pay for. Hate
that narrative.
But we didn't try to overthrow the government.
But we didn't do that.
Right. All right? Because things didn't go our way. You know what I mean? Where they could have actually had another shot. They have another shot in 4 years. Like, what we writing about, there ain't no other shot.
Right.
The shot done fired. That's the reason why we rioted.
Exactly.
All right? They could have just easily sat for 4 years and tried again.
Right.
So, and I don't think a lot of people understand that, especially in our community. Please like, share, subscribe, share that clip right there, because it'll make a lot of folks say, you know what, he's kind of making sense, and maybe I should pay attention a little bit more.
That is a great point.
Yeah, because we should, and that segues into our whole topic.
So I don't minus one story. I don't know if you realize this entire show is political.
Yeah. No. Yeah.
And that's one thing that we have tried to stay away from. Like, we'll mention politics. We'll say, hey, go out and vote, and try to educate you on what these different candidates stand for, or things that you should learn about government and politics and things like that. But this show is going to. So take two. We try to stay away from like anything that's too pointed, or just to like get too much of an opinion left or right, even though we are more on the left side.
And we definitely do focus a lot on topics and issues that directly affect, black and brown and marginalized folks, and queer people of color, and and pretty much the entire spectrum of the LGBT community, because we're a part of that community. And we do touch on a lot of African American issues, because of course
obviously.
But we very rarely stick away from like the broader ones. We try to make sure that you guys understand very poignantly how it affects you on a daily basis, because it does. And a lot of folks in our community are like, oh well, what we're going to be talking about soon.
Well, no, let's just jump in.
Yeah, so an influencer who I'm not familiar with.
Neither am I.
All right, but she's an influencer. All right, she was on.
And excuse us if we sound. That wasn't the Breakfast Club. I was about to say excuse us if we sound ignorant, because we're not familiar with who this person is.
Right.
But you just made it sound so much worse when you said the Breakfast Club. That was the Ballers Alert.
Oh, Ballers Alert. There we go. Ballers Alert.
Right.
So it was this influencer by the name of Amaretta. Okay, if you know her, tell us who she is in the comments.
If I know who she is, please tell us who she is.
Put some links
is that
down there.
Is that an age thing now? Are we getting to the age like we just disconnected from what these kids are watching?
Probably.
Because we're saying these kids.
Probably.
And I'm okay with that, just to acknowledge that, we are getting older and things change generationally. That's fine. But I think that one of the problems that we have with this generational thing is a lot, and I don't want to make it a blanket statement, because it's not true to make it a blanket statement, but there are people in every generation, let's say that, who are just unaware of what happens in our world and the makings of our country. And then when you talk about voting, they're like,
and how our country works.
Yeah, and how it works on different levels and different branches. And because they're not exposed to the reality of things, because I think on some level social media puts people in a bubble.
It's a large combination. It's especially with the younger generation, like this Amaretta,
Let's tell her what she said.
Right.
And then
so on Ballers Alert, they had asked her if she voted, and she said no. All right, and we're gonna bypass that, because everyone here clearly knows how I feel, and Kevin knows how I feel about black folks not voting. Period. If you are black, I feel like you are.
It's not enough to just say that.
Right.
It's not your statement. It's not enough to just say that. Oh well, as a black person, if you don't vote, there is a psychology behind why black people don't vote.
Yeah, no, there is. It's sociology. And we have to break it.
And it's like one is genuine education, not from others, but from ourselves, to teach each other the importance and point out the reason why.
And point out the sacrifices that went into.
I'm gonna stop you right there. As true as you are, this generation, they're not trying to hear that. We understand. We know what sacrifices that were made for us to have this right. And we value that, and we honor those people who gave their lives for us. So who were beaten and thrown in jail.
Great aunts and uncles, and
family
that's
members,
how close
kinfolk,
it is.
Yeah,
it's very close.
Yeah. So to us, because we witnessed that, and our parents witnessed and told us, we understand that value, but they don't see that. They don't connect with that. We can beat them over the head with that all day long. They need to see the real life reasons how what they do or don't do affect the majority of us day to day. That's the argument that needs to be had. Unfortunately, they don't want to hear about our ancestors, but they do want to hear about their school day. They do want to hear about, safety in their communities. They want to hear about having equal rights to certain communities. So that's what's more important to them. This generation don't care about our great-great-grandparents who died or was beaten and hosed and dogged. They don't care. And I'm not going to say that they don't care, but they can't see the connection. But if you talk about something that they're dealing with today, they're going to relate to that, and they can connect with that.
Right. It is a matter of and it also goes to, like you said, education.
Yep.
And especially our own education, and I think that we've gotten away from, as a community, of really educating one another in our community's history, because we're the only ones who can accurately tell that.
Yeah.
We can't leave it upon the colonizers, to to explain that, that to us and that to our kids. And the next generation, it was passed down to us. We have to do what we can to pass it down to our kids and everything, especially because of the fact that that this is an influencer generation.
Yes.
We look at ourselves as somewhat of influencers, and we try to do our part. And what was said on Ballers Alert was basically that when Amaretta said that she didn't vote and everything, she basically said that the reason why she doesn't vote is because, one, she feels as though that both sides lie, which very true.
Both sides lie.
We can't deny that. Very true. Okay. She said, and she also said that she doesn't have the education.
Right. Exactly.
All right. And she also feels as though, like, she could tell her followers to go vote, but if they don't know what they're voting for or why they're voting, and if she can't tell them that, then why should she even tell people to go vote? And I get that, and it brings up two very key points where we're at. Majority of African Americans here in this country are educated through the public school system. Okay. I was very privileged to grow up to be educated in both systems multiple times throughout my entire childhood, of being educated both by public schools and private schools. All right, in Delaware. Okay, and there is a stark difference between the two and the quality of the two. Yes, I can tell you that. I can tell you that hands down. Yes. But at the end of the day, we have to, make sure that, and that's the reason why we got to vote, okay? Because when you go and you vote, politics is all local, okay? If we're not voting in school board elections, those folks on the school board decide what the kids learn, okay? If we're not voting in state elections, those folks at the state level, like your governors, your lieutenant governors, your state senators, your state representatives, all right, those folks set the state standards that the local folks have to abide by, okay?
Politics 101, or wait.
Yeah.
Okay.
Politics 101 is that politics is all local, okay? And you have to be and your vote affects things that are closer to your home more than your vote that where you're deciding the president, because on that same ballot you have your state and your local races. Okay, those are the ones that really affect you every day, and those are the reasons why you should be out there voting. All right, and we have to educate that, because kids aren't learning civics in their schools now. Their social studies is very, very cut, and education budgets in general are cut, which is bullcrap. That's why China and Russia and stuff like that, because Russia's investing in coding knowledge. That's why they can hack everything and steal everybody's money. And we're sitting over here like, oh my God, somebody help us.
Yeah.
We have to learn we have to educate ourselves in order to protect us against those. China, with their cyber attacks and developing their whole freaking facial recognition society over there, where they can pretty much monitor you through a tree that you thought was a tree and it's not a tree. But it looks like a tree. It feels like a tree. But it's the surveillance. They've educated themselves, and they've invested in education in their country. But they also invested in sending their young people out to our country, because to also gain knowledge that we have here. And we're not doing that. We're not sending our young folks off into the world like we used to, in order to learn differently, see different cultures and stuff like that, because all that affects how we see the world and how we, do things here. And she brought up another point with the whole influencer thing, and how we are in an influencer culture, especially with the young folks. And she said that influencers should be educated. Yes, you know what? And it would be great if the government had or the parties had a influencer. They probably do, but they probably don't know how to connect. Yeah. So do your part, influencers, and reach out to these parties, whichever one you may be partial to, or whichever one you're not partial to.
I'm going to jump back in on that because I myself, as an influencer, I will say go vote. I won't say go vote for this person, go vote for that person. One, because that's your decision.
Yeah.
Completely, regardless of party affiliation, that's your decision. Number two, I try not to, and I guess it's the backwards thing to do, but try not to use my platform to influence politics. But I guess at this point in our life and in our society, it's almost necessary that everybody has to do their part. And yeah, election day is passed already, but there's another election coming up. We're the country of taxes and elections.
Right.
There's another one coming up.
Especially to our folks in Georgia. Make sure that you guys vote early for that runoff. Yes. And make sure that you guys show up on, I believe it's December 6th.
I think it's the 6th.
December 6th. Folks in Georgia, show up at the polls. Go vote December 6th.
Why should we go vote? Because there is a portion of people who believes that one person can do everything for everybody, and they strip away rights. They make life harder for everybody. They distract. They fearmonger. And they have no good intentions for us. You do the research, find out who to.
Right.
That's
right. And the same deal goes for the influencers. I think where Amaretta is wrong is that there is an onus upon yourself as an American.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yes.
The thing about being an American is that we are, by virtue of being born an American, we're all invested in the business of our country and the people who we entrust to conduct the business of our country, because that's what a democracy is. The people hold the stakes in, and the way that we and the way that we show our will is by voting.
So there were record numbers broken when Obama was elected because they activated the black community in a way that was never activated in any of the political race. Could you imagine the power we could really have? And it's not even about power to say, hey, no, it's more so the way we could really help each other.
Right.
If we didn't vote because I posted something recently about this guy who was going off about people who didn't vote because they said, Biden did it, cancel my student debt. And it's like, wow, that was very selfish. There are women's rights. There are, like you said, rights to privacy, which is going to lead to equal rights to marriage and things like that. That are on a ballot, but because you didn't get this one thing from somebody that you said they promised X, Y, and Z, it's like, well, what about the bigger picture?
Right.
What about the community at large? What's going to benefit not just me, but everybody? There's a point in our lives where we do have to take a step back from just me, and what I want, and how can my input help everyone else.
And I think that is the key thing that separates. That for me, that is the key thing that separates me going into the voting booth from somebody that is, Caucasian going into the voting booth. And I would say that is honestly the case for any person in America who is not Anglo-Saxon Caucasian. Like, when you go into that voting booth, you're not just voting for yourself. Like, and it's weird, but the way that America is structurally built, and based off of the laws, is that yes, the folks that were Caucasian and rich and wealthy and were born that way have a head start on the American life and the American dream than the rest of us who weren't born with anything, and we have to work hard, in order to get there. Twice as hard, 4 times as hard. All right, in order to get to where they were at when they started the race. Okay, and I think that's what you have to take that into account, because if you aren't you know, and don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to bash white folks. This is not like, you know what I mean. And then people are like, see, that's not critical race theory. No, this is not critical race theory. This is actually fact.
Right.
Like
theory from fact.
So like it's like if you're not, you know, rich, white, successful, you know, you can't vote in your self-interest. You are actually voting in the interest of your community and the people that are like you.
Yep.
Okay, that is what your vote affects. If you think that your vote doesn't affect you, it sure as heck affects your favorite Aunt Phyllis, who is on dialysis.
Yes.
And if we don't elect the right person, then, you know, subsidies for her to make her dialysis affordable are going to go away. You know, that's the case in California. You know, for a lot of folks.
Like, you know, I just want to say something to that, because people are like, oh well, that community, they just lazy, they need to get up and work. But what about a parent who's done her best to work all her life to make sure her kids had, and that she had something, and now she's fallen ill,
right?
And they're cutting subsidies and programs to help her,
right?
She did the best she could with the work that was offered to her with her educational background, and she didn't get a job with a pension, which we know after a while that's not gonna matter anyway. Yeah,
not everybody can get a job that has all these benefits.
What about that person? Because they paid their debt to society. Because
they're paying taxes. Yeah, exactly, and that's the thing. If you are paying taxes, and that's the thing, if you have a job and you say I'm not voting, you are literally giving away your money. Like giving away your money, because this government gonna take taxes out of my check. I'm gonna be in that voting booth every time.
Exactly.
Every time.
What's going to
with my finger?
What am I going to do that's going to influence how, when that person who can only get a minimum wage job, they got to live in an apartment that's 3 times their amount of money they make.
Right.
Like, no, that's how we should be voting.
And you can affect all that based off of your voting.
Exactly.
Like, and so don't think that, you know, and influencers out there, don't think that you don't have a part to play, because you do have a part to play. If you have followers, you know, thousands of followers, you have a part to play, because there are people that look at you and you influence their everyday lives. It's influencers.
Right.
So use your platform to at least spur them. You know what I mean? Even if you don't know about it, challenge your followers to educate themselves, but also educate you. You know, that's why we're always saying, hey, if we don't know, let us know down in the comments. You know what I mean? Engage with your followers so that you guys can go on a discovery together, because then that's going to make it more meaningful. You're going to connect with your followers on a deeper level. They're going to connect with you, and it makes that whole influencer relationship experience a whole lot more deeper and meaningful, because you, as an influencer, have had genuine and dramatic effect on somebody. Right. All right, and you truly educated them. All right, and you've also educated yourself. It's a win-win for everybody. So, you know, yeah, that's my whole thing with the baller alert thing. And influencers, yes, you do have an obligation to educate yourselves, but also lean on your followers, challenge them to educate themselves, and also educate you, because that journey together is only going to form a deeper, you know, influencer bond.
Right, and just like you said, definitely want to make sure that you guys are doing everything to educate yourselves and take it upon yourselves. We noticed during these during political seasons like this, everyone's on the campaign trail. We're seeing all of the text messages and the commercials, getting the phone calls and the letters in the mail. God damn it! But I think beyond just saying, "Oh, that's annoying," or they're just flooding us with all the spam, to actually maybe pay attention to some of these rallies and hearing what, because that's how you're going to learn what these people are standing for. Listening to what they're saying, looking at their track record. We're going to move on, but I just wanted to make sure that I want to say that you go further than just what you watch on the news and what you're getting in the polls, because by the time it's in the polls, it's a little too late. So, well, not completely, but you running down the wire at that point.
Yeah.
So pay attention to what's going on in your communities. School board meetings is the best way to get started, and then just keep building community boards, stuff like that, and then learn. I remember growing up, we were always involved with like city council. Like my mom's stepmother was always involved in stuff like that, so we met a lot of people, we got to see a lot of different things, starting with city council, and those things just continue to move up. And that's your way to not only vote people in, but also influence what's being done on those bills.
Right.
So, all right, we're going to move on, which isn't necessarily a happy story.
No. The next two stories are pretty, down there, but we're gonna,
Oh yeah.
So, if you haven't heard, over the, I would say, what was it, last night?
I think it was last night.
Yeah, last night, there was a shooting which resulted in the deaths of multiple people, at a gay nightclub in Colorado Springs called Club Q. And don't have much details on it.
So, the details I do have about it is the suspect walked into the venue and just began to open fire. 5 people were pronounced dead. 18 people were injured in the hospital. There were 2 brave people who tackled him and stopped the assault. He has been hospitalized. When I say he, I mean the suspect. They've been hospitalized, but they haven't released any of the names of any of the victims.
Right.
As of yet. So this is one of those stories that we're going to continue to talk about and bring back more information as we get information. But yeah, this is just one of those really unfortunate. This LGBTQ club in Colorado Springs, and this was, and it's honestly, and this is what I said in the beginning of the show, this is a very political show because I believe that those motivations of the assailant was motivated because of political views. I don't think we need to sit here and say, well, I wonder what the views were anti-gay. Which,
I mean, this was a hate crime.
Yeah, I was just going to say, which is a hate crime. Which makes it a hate crime. So, our prayers are with the loved ones of the deceased and those who are, those victims who are healing or injured. Pray that they have a speedy recovery,
yes,
and that justice is served. And I kind of want there to be a lot of media around this. I wish I was a journalist in that sense. To also hold this person accountable and to tease out what we need to see. Like, yeah, this is not only is this a hate crime, but it was fueled by, so we can change those things.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And it's terrible. I am very much a proponent, of, and it's crazy because in these type of situations, I hate to fall on the side of the folks that are like pro-gun in a lot of the situations because a lot of their arguments are asinine.
So I think this with the people who are
right,
like having the right to bear arms is one thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's when you have politicians who have what is it again?
The unmitigated gall.
No, NRA.
Oh.
In their pockets.
Mm-hmm.
It's these people who are, well, we're with the cops, so we deserve to have guns, but those others aren't allowed to have guns, so they shouldn't have guns when you want to take away the rights of everybody.
Right.
I think that's when it becomes an issue, because I have a right to protect my family and my house and
right,
myself.
Right. Yep.
And that's a right in the Constitution. I have those rights.
Yeah.
But it's just like when people go overboard with it, and the fact that people get access to assault rifles.
Right. And the thing about it is that this guy could have went through legal channels,
yeah,
and lawfully obtained these, these weapons. It's
so
just
I don't know that it's a gun situation.
Right. It could be like you were saying, political rhetoric that
it's not the only person that has a gun.
So, exactly, and that's the thing. We have a lot of venomous political, language going out there that is severely dividing our country, making people hate people for no reason.
Yeah.
And this could have been the case, in this particular situation.
Yeah.
It also could be where this particular guy may have had documented mental issues, and no documentation stating that his mental issues have resolved themselves enough for him to, what I mean. I am a firm believer in common sense gun control, and part of common sense gun control is going through a psychological evaluation to make sure that you are legitimately not a danger to yourself or others. And that's the whole point of that. Just like you have to get a license to drive a car, because a car is a weapon. If you could use it as a weapon.
A baseball bat is a weapon if it's not used properly.
Right. I don't think you should get a license to buy a baseball bat.
I'm saying that to say, like, there are people who have license to weapons and they still misuse them.
Right, exactly. So that's why we're going to be watching this space to see what goes on, in part because we as a community need to understand why these violent, outbursts against us happen, and how we can influence others to understand that there's no place for this,
right?
And how we can also work with others to figure out ways to try to avoid these in the future.
All right, so small detour. So this is the third weekend of November. Literally last weekend ended the Halloween season for me. At the haunted house. I work at a haunted house called Halloween Nights. I've seen two fellow managers in the chat. Hey Rachel, hey Taylor. And there's something so special about that place. Not just to the customers who come through every year and enjoy what we added, but like the community on the inside. We don't tolerate each other. We celebrate each other and all of our diversity. And where there is no tolerance is when you go against that, because there's so many of us that represent so many different things: black, white, Hispanic, other nationalities, gay, straight, bisexual, pansexual. Don't leave me alone, I don't want to talk about sexual. And we all still just love each other, we support each other, we're there for each other, and it is one of the most beautiful places in the... We know it's a haunted house, but when I say it's like a family, it's like a family. And it's because when people come in who would like discriminate against any demographic, it's shut down, because again, there is no tolerance. And I think as a community, that's what we need to get to.
There's no tolerance for intolerance.
Exactly, no tolerance for intolerance. Like, we need to get to a space where not only do we say, oh, I love my brother or sister regardless of their sexuality or their gender identity or their religion or whatever. Not only do I accept them, but I won't let you do anything that's going to harm them,
right,
and them developing into being a greater person. That falls on all of us.
Now, just to put a prick in the whole devil's advocate,
of course,
folks will say, "Oh, well," like, and that brings us back to what we were discussing with the whole Dwayne Wade and Zaya, the whole thing, where a lot of folks feel as if allowing, or tolerating, the LGBT folks, or anyone for that matter, that is not typical culture, you know what I mean, or typical accepted, mainstream. You're influencing children, and we're letting them know that is okay, when we just want them to grow up and be normal, and have kids and everything else like that. And there is no, and the thing about it is, there is, like, being who you are and being allowed the space to be who you are is the best way for them to grow up, be happy, and be productive. Because if they want to be heterosexual and have kids and everything else like that, then give them the space and freedom, because you would not deny them any space or freedom to do that. It's the same deal. You know what I mean? If this is what they want, and if this is who they are, if they are a member of the LGBT community, give them the space and freedom to be the best person that they can be at the end of the day, because that is your job as a parent. Okay? Because kids are going to be kids. But at the end of the day, you are. I say that parents are measured, in my opinion, a successful parent, you're measured by the adult that you end up raising. And if you raise a solid adult that can stand on their own 2 feet, that doesn't have to beat down your door for you know what I mean, and everything else like that, you've done a great job as a parent. Okay.
And I agree with most of that, because.
As do I.
Okay.
As do I.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm just acknowledge that there are some parents who will put down their life for their child and do and give everything they can, and the child will be like, F you.
Yeah. No. Yeah. Yep.
So yeah.
But yeah. So I think that, we have to, again, definitely understand that there is a difference between intolerance and tolerance, and it's not just tolerance for the sake of tolerance. It is understanding, and what we mean by tolerance is understanding the fact that, oh, that person over there is doing them.
To me,
and it's not really affecting me.
I mean, for the most part, but to me, also, tolerance, there is a space for tolerance where I don't understand you, I don't like it, but I will tolerate
or
this.
I may not like it.
Hold on, hear me out. But I will tolerate this situation that makes me uncomfortable long enough to understand it. Tolerance is just that space that gives us a chance to understand each other. Because you're not going to get along with everybody. You're not going to agree with everything. We get that. But to find a space where we can get along, coexist, and build from here, that's a small space for tolerance. Other than that, no, I want celebration. I want acceptance. I want to feel welcomed. I want to feel like I belong. Not just, I'm just going to put up with you because the law says I have to. Anyway.
Yeah. Unless it involves racial issues, I feel like yes, that's the case.
It's not just racial.
When I walk into a Waffle House in Alabama, I love it because it's like, hey, what are you gonna do? There's laws.
And then you got a lot of people who don't mind breaking the law.
Yeah, no, I don't. But hey, at least I know that there are protections at the end of the day.
Okay. And others,
you gotta take solace in some things, all right? Solace in some things, and
in other sad news.
Yeah, and
a lot of our one of our childhood heroes is gone. Jason David Frank, who played Tommy the Green Ranger in the original Power Rangers,
and also the White Ranger, and
he was
the
also
Red Ranger.
Well, yeah, he was one of the most beloved Rangers in the entire franchise from start to finish.
Longest serving.
Yeah, he's the only one that's been in the franchise as long as anyone.
And he's been in the most of anyone that was on the original, Mighty Morphin season, because he came in towards the tail end of that very first season.
But he was an original Ranger,
right? Because the Green Ranger saga spanned like the season break and everything, and it was cool. It was some of the most riveting television that I've ever seen. Like, Power Rangers is such, and you'd be hard pressed to find anyone around our age
who doesn't know what the Power Rangers are,
or
want to be.
Yes, and
which Ranger are you? The first thing you went to, I'm the White Ranger. I'm the Green Ranger. I'm the Black Ranger.
Like, I remember getting off of the bus from a woman, and I remember my elementary school. I remember my teacher. Like, in first grade, because that's when it came out, and that's how young I was. And I remember it, because I remember just running into the house to turn on Fox after seeing all those advertisements, leading up to the Power Rangers debuting, because it debuted right after school. I remember being there.
I remember that
being there for that episode.
I remember that excitement.
Yeah.
Yes.
And seeing Rita Repulsa come out of the thing, and then making the pig monster out of clay and stuff like that. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, the pig monster only had arms, legs, a big old head, and a little helmet.
It was eating everything, and it was epic. It was epic for a 5-6-year-old at that time. It was epic. And then the whole Green Ranger saga started out, and you got to know Tommy and everything, and you really endeared, like he was one of the first anti-heroes that I actually was like, oh, I vibe with him, because I understand, sometimes you're the bad guy and sometimes you're the good guy.
And Tommy was the character that every guy wanted to be and every girl wanted to be with.
Yes.
He was idolized.
He was the man. Just enough edge to be a bad boy, but still
good at heart, a gentleman. We loved this character that Jason David Frank gave us for generations.
Yep.
So, with that, we do wish his family well, and just a moment of condolence for him.
Rest in peace, Jason David Frank.
moving on to something that deals with another hero.
Mm-hmm.
Damn.
I think we should do this in. I think we should start off tonight and then.
Yeah, we have to. Cause we have
finish.
15 minutes left on this.
Yeah, and then finish our our full go a little bit more.
Our breakdown
yeah,
and
give
review of
people
this,
more time to get to the theaters to see it because we saw it.
Yo,
we saw it.
I saw it before it came out. Well, it was out when I saw it, but
Yeah.
I can't. It was supposed to come out on Friday. You know they always. Here's my secret. If you don't already know this, but they always release these movies a day ahead of its actual release. Like,
Yeah.
always. I always go, and it's never a problem finding a ticket for me either.
Yeah, when we got off the boat, we went later that night.
Yeah.
To
like Endgame, not Endgame, Infinity War. When Avengers Infinity War came out, I was at work, and I know it was supposed to come out that Friday, but I was at work on the Thursday afternoon, and I was just online, and I saw that the theater around the corner from our job happened to have Infinity War. Babe, I'm not gonna be right home after work. I'm gonna run around the corner to this theater. Went to the theater and watched, and I cried like a baby when Tom Holland got dusted. I mean, when Spider-Man got dusted.
Oh, of course you did.
I cried like a baby. But my point is, like, I always, whenever these new movies come out that I actually want to see, they're always released a day before their actual release date. And I sat in this theater, and this movie made me laugh, cry, get angry, and excited and with joy. And this is me giving my unofficial review of the movie because we don't want it. We could spoil it, but
we're gonna spoil it next week
because we're just bringing it to you guys for the first time. We're introducing this. We're giving you an opportunity, and we've done this with other things in the past. Giving you the opportunity to go watch Wakanda Forever. The things that they introduce in this movie, the stories that they talk, like the topics that they talk on, and the acting. I watched a review when someone said that you see the cast mourning while you see the characters mourning. And they couldn't tell the difference between if the cast was just mourning and they recorded it or if it was acting. You feel the energy in the theater. And
even the newer cast, the folks that were just coming in. And the folks that, and we're going to give you a little bit of background here. One of the main villains, because if you know the MCU, there is a shadow villain in the background, and you kind of feel like you get suggestions as to who that is throughout the movie. But the villain in the forefront and everything is Namor or Namor. Namor the Submariner for those comic book fans, but they call him in the movie. He goes by Kukulkan. All right, Kukulkan, and but his enemies call him Namor. All right,
and in the movie they still called him Namor. But they just gave you more information because in the movie they tell you how. Excuse me, what the hell? How he got that name?
Right. Yeah. So and we'll go into that next week, and everything when we do the full spoiler John. But even them, you could tell that they felt the gravity of the entire film, but they also did it because they had to also tell the story of the people that they were representing. Okay,
but they did a great job.
And they did a great job. And sorry to bring it back to the political realm and everything else like that here in America, but honestly, it is very much an allegory for where we are as a country. You have a solid block of you have minorities, because for one thing, minorities are slowly and surely becoming the majority here in America. If you combine them all together. But the two largest of the minority groups here in America, African American, Latinos. All right? You see a lot of similarities. And kudos to Ryan Coogler, because when I was watching that movie, I'm slowly but surely picking up on all of the little breadcrumbs and basically him flashing a mirror to both the Latino community and the African American community here in America. Like, and it's amazing because the presence of Namor and the fact that Ryan Coogler chose to make him more Latino.
Yeah.
Then because there were different ways based off of the comic books.
Yeah.
He could be Latino. He could also be Asian.
Yeah.
So they could have went multiple different ways with the racial representation here. I do like the fact that they went the Latino route.
Yeah.
Because it is very poignant to where we are.
Throughout the entire movie, you see parallels between the two different cultures, which I think, in a lot of ways, it's reflective of real life. It's art imitating life, and honesty. And I love that. And his representation of both of these cultures, it was done so beautifully.
Oh, I've seen so many Puerto Rican, Latino, Mexican dudes on Facebook and Twitter now doing cosplay as Namor. It's ridiculous. They're like, we got one home,
right? Because it gives not we saw what Black Panther did for the Black community.
Oh yeah, when we were in the movies, our group in the theater, it was this family that came, and the little boy, he had dreadlocks and everything else like that. Little boy came dressed full Black Panther costume and everything, And we were like, oh! And he came up, he was hyped to watch the movie, and that was just amazing to see.
Yes. And it's giving representation to the Latin community as well. It just to see what Black Panther did, and then to see what Wakanda Forever is doing again.
Yeah, it's supercharging a lot of Latino pride, which is beautiful. I have Latinos in my family.
It brought Rihanna out of retirement.
Yes, it did bring Rihanna out of retirement.
So come on, Ryan Coogler, for that.
Thank the gods. Thank the gods for that, because the most dominant female the most dominant female artist period deserves a big platform like that,
Yes.
And I'm just talking about overall. Beehive, yes, I'm sticking a stick up in there and just shaking it. Yeah, Beehive, yes, the most dominant. Take the entire empire. Her empire, vastly larger than Beyonce's empire. Book it. Dig it. Yeah.
So let me just make this clear. I am not part of the Beehive, but I don't know that I necessarily agree with that, though.
Her entire empire. Now, if you factor in
Jay-Z's... here's the problem with our community. We always be putting people against each other. This let Lady be great. Okay? Let Lady be great.
I love it. I just love messing with the Beehive, though, because y'all deserve it. Y'all deserve it. This is no... I respect...
You see,
I respect
just
Beyonce.
did what you complained that they do. This was Rihanna's moment, and you made it about Beyonce. You did it. That's you.
I'm just throwing paint on their paintings.
No, you're not.
Tomato soup on their paintings.
You just made this conversation about Beyonce.
No, we're not.
We're talking about Rihanna and
we're talking about how much greater Rihanna is than Beyonce.
There is no such thing.
Yes, there is.
They shine bright like a diamond in their own way.
Nope. Only female billionaire artist.
Stop. She has more money. Okay.
Her money.
Stop it. Stop. Let them be great. I just want to see greatness with all my people.
You know I love greatness. It's in my name.
That's all we want.
So,
All right, so let them be great.
Yeah.
In their greatness.
Yeah, in their greatness. Hers is greater.
This guy.
That's coming from greatness. You're welcome. Love you, Riri.
We do love you,
She watches the show.
Anyway, but I really do encourage you guys to go watch this movie. If you've already watched it, let us know in the comments.
Yeah, and be here next week.
Right, so you can be a part of the conversation. By the way, something that we don't typically do is get a chance to look at the comments in our comment section all the time. If you're on Facebook, your comments don't show up on our platform that we stream from. So unless I'm looking at my phone, which I'm doing right now, we don't get a chance to see it. And if you're on YouTube now, however, you can comment and it will pop up in our comment stream.
Yeah, and we can interact.
Yeah.
A little bit more easier.
So what I'm saying to say, go subscribe to YouTube.
Like, comment, and share.
turn on the notification bell so that way every time we are going live, you'll get a notification and you can join our conversation. We would more than love to have you be a part of the conversation instead of talking at you, we'll be talking with you. So, do that. But at the same time, we do want to say thank you to all of the people who tuned in, who commented, who added their 2 cents, or 50 cents, because some people had some 50-cent moments in our comment section on Facebook. So,
hanging upside down, rapping, It's a 50-cent moment. That's what he did at the Super Bowl.
It threw me off, but I knew he knew what he was talking about. I just had to get the reference. Yeah. Otherwise, do us a favor. You can go to this little. It's over here.
Oh.
No, it's not there.
Oh.
It's here.
Oh, okay.
Jesus.
Oh, say that.
If you go to that website right there, you can go and purchase a copy of A Life of Lust. Memoirs of the Porn Star. I have a couple of these books that I need to move. So, guys, go onto the website.
Yes.
And get your copy now.
Make a great Christmas gift.
How about that? Christmas is coming up. So is Black Friday. Maybe we might have a Black Friday sale. That sounds fun. Let's do it.
Well, by sale means you guys buy a whole bunch.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yes. KevynMines.com.
And do it now to beat the whole mailing thing. And, you know, the shipping slows down around the holiday season. So order yours now so that way you can get a copy for you and a gift for someone else.
Right.
That's pretty much all we got for you today.
Yeah, that's it.
Be sure to join us next week where we're going to actually dive into Wakanda Forever Black Panther, give you our opinions, and even spoil a couple of things.
Right.
So go watch it and then come back and then, you know, you'll know what we're talking about as we talk about it. All right? Got anything to say to the people?
Thank y'all for coming. God bless you. Good